Thank you for joining me today at A Touch of Blue Studio with Drawing with Grandma. Thank you for joining me again today for another demonstration from my studio. We are continuing sketchbook studies of animals mostly, and today we're going to do a leopard. I have shaped the round head, and now I need to find the line that leads from the top of his head down to the base of his nozzle. And then I need to place those ears. And that's just my approach, is to find the ear placement after I get the head shape. And then it leads me down to the bridge of the nose and the eye placement. So that is my approach to laying out a sketch of an animal or a person, and that really helps me. So I've got the head shape. I'm kind of making sure that I have the round form that I want, and then placing those eyes and ears and nose correctly will help the whole drawing to be more successful. We are seeing more of the left side of his head than we are on the right, so I have to be careful that that angle is correct. I want to place in the structure of his nose and those little cheeks that create his complete nozzle and lead us to the finished head shape. Also, what is very dominant on this cat are the placement of his spots. And there is such a beautiful pattern to them. They aren't random. His spots are very symmetrical, meaning that they are the same on both sides of his head. And so placing those correctly will be really important. So it will require that I pay attention to the photo that I'm using, and that I, just follow it closely and observe what's happening. So starting with the eyes will be a good decision, because it helps to make sure that I've got those accurate before I move forward to other details. I usually start my details with the eyes and make sure that those are placed correctly, and it's just a lot of fun to actually get some expression in the animal and the mood and the personality, so it is there when I'm doing the other parts of the drawing. So I might need to adjust their shape a little bit as I go, but I'm going to go ahead and shape this nose, and it is quite large, but it will help me to find that opening and the shadows created, and then I can start placing in some of the spots that are very uniquely placed. We're seeing a little less of the right side of his head, so I want to get that angle correct, and then be sure that I've gotten the shape of the ears, the dark patches laid in. That will help to create the illusion of form. Now I can start placing in some of the dominant spots on him. They are very distinct and patterned, so I'm going to start with the head of the spots, and then I will work on the ones that are on his body. Finding that middle line that leads from the top of his head down to the bridge of his nose will really help to determine the placement of those spots. So here we go with a little bit of symmetry, and some are darker than others, some are bigger than others, so it takes a little bit of concentration and focus, but it's worth it. It's fun, and it's really good practice. A lot of learning how to draw is to really learn to observe what you're looking at and noticing the unique qualities of the animal or person or landscape or fruit or still life or whatever it is you're focused on drawing. They have unique qualities that you want to pay attention to and learn to observe correctly. Some of these spots are in rows and some are bigger than others, but I don't want to be random with them. I'm really trying to focus on the unique pattern that is there for these beautiful cats. Okay, oh yeah, and those on his little nozzle that are his whisker pores, those are important. The left side of his nose is a little bit darker than the right. I'm going to shape up that right eye and see if I can make sure it looks correct compared to the other one. And then getting those spots placed in. Okay, if you're trying this cat, I hope you will follow some of the steps that I like to follow. I think it's been really helpful to do that. Drawing the main shape of the head first, placing the eyes or ears first, and then moving on to the other features is a good format. Now I'm erasing a little bit some of the highlights. The light was coming from the right side, so I wanted to have a little light area on that right edge of his head, and then make sure I get some of the hair effect created right around his mouth and into his neck area. So I think darkening his mane underneath will help me to lighten up that little chin. There we go. I think that helped a lot. There's some little highlights on the top of his head and on the ears. There's little fluffy white hairs. So if I emphasize the darkness of some of those spots and dark areas, it will make those light areas shine up better. That is called contrast. The dark and light contrast will help the drawing be more effective. So I think I'm going to darken up some of those spots now, and that will help overall to make it more interesting and dramatic. Okay, I think I'm getting close to finishing this one up. Just want to do a sketch. I needed to be sure to get those stripes underneath his, or those spots underneath his eye, because they do look the same on both sides. Darkening those spots, and here he is as a sketch. Thank you for watching this demonstration. I have one more animal to do today, but we are going to only start him and then I'm going to finish him during our next lesson in color. He's a really cute little fox, and his head is more of a diamond shape because his ears are so big. But I am going to start with that shape of the head and then find that intersection where the bridge of the nose would be, and then place the eyes. So that's going to be my step today. Then I will place the ears, which are really big. Okay, we are going to structure the nozzle there and his little mouth, and he has a little black nose, And then his ears are quite large and a little bit pointy, but they're very close together, and you can see the difference between him and the jaguar we did and other animals is that there's not very much space between those two ears. So that makes him unique. He's got a lot of hair around his head, which is a lot of fluff. Again, I like to find the very center of from the bridge of the nose, that line that leads up to the top of his head, to help me structure the values and to make sure that I'm getting the features placed correctly. We're going to do this study in watercolor, but I want to be sure my drawing is correct. A lot of watercolor artists don't like their pencil marks to show, so they draw really lightly, but I like the combination of a well-established drawing with some watercolor washes. So I like the emphasis on both the watercolor and the drawing. And so people can do their watercolors in various ways, but that's just my preference for studies. Sometimes I'd like to just add a little bit of color to my work and then focus on the drawing as being an important practicing part of what I like to do. So I'm going to just develop these eyes a little bit, and then we're going to come back to him during our next lesson and do a little watercolor wash on him. So I hope you'll join me again here at A Touch of Blue Studio with Drawing with Grandma.